Hi, my name is Krista Dancy. You're here in my office in Roseville, California, where I am a licensed marriage and family therapist in private practice. And today we're going to discuss what is brain spotting like as a client. First, if you haven't already, let me give you a few other links that you might find helpful. The first one is I've done some videos on what is trauma, and those are a good background for why this information is so helpspell. So I recommend watching those first if you haven't already. The second thing is I've also done a video on what EMDR is like as a client. And since EMDR came before brain spotting, it kind of makes sense to start there. So if you haven't seen that video, go ahead and do that one. You'll also find that link down below. The third thing is I'm going to link to the international certifying agency for brain spotting called Brainspotting International, where you can look up things like the latest research, latest information, trainings, who's certified, etc., in case you're interested in that information. And again, all of that can be found down below. If you can't see it, just click more or expand and you'll find the links there. So first of all, I want to talk about brain spotting specifically to my clients so they might be able to compare and contrast that with EMDR. You'll notice I compare them a lot. Brain spotting was discovered by David Grant, who's a clinician that actually was a teacher for EMDR, a certified trainer, and used EMDR as an expert for many years in his practice before discovering this sort of branch off application that ended up becoming known as brain spotting. So a lot of the same neurological basis and information for why EMDR is so special can be applied to brain spotting, although brain spotting is a newer application or a newer technique. So again, that other video might be helpful to give you a little background before diving in on this one. First, we want to go ahead and talk about the setup process. One of the differences in brain spotting and why I sometimes like moving to brain spotting over EMDR is that the setup process is actually less specific. This can be helpful if maybe there's a more general understanding of what the issue is. It can also be really helpful if the issue is something that you feel profoundly in your body, because one of the main differences between EMDR and brain spotting, in my opinion and my experience, is that brain spotting has a natural application to bodily sensation. It has actually a strong emphasis on that and some profound effects on bodily experiences of healing when it comes to trauma. And for those of you who've experienced trauma, know firsthand how much it can be really felt in the body senses, heart elevation or stomach pain or a lump in your throat or anything like that. The second thing I want to talk about is bilateral. So brain spotting also uses bilateral stimulus. The difference is brain spotting is about fixed eye position. So what it does is it actually partners audio, and in this case music, that alternates from one ear to the other slowly as you're listening to the music, but the eye positioning is encouraged to be fixed. And this is really the pinnacle of what makes brain spotting different than EMDR, was David Grant's findings that where we look actually affects the material that we're accessing neurologically. And so by holding a fixed eye position, we can even create more rapid response, more rapid healing and progress. And it's funny because ever since learning this information, I see it all the time when we're trying to tell a story, when we're trying to access information. Watch the eye positioning of people and you will notice that they will move their eyes according to what they are trying to access of that material. The difference is there isn't the same eye positioning for everything. So it's going to be unique to what you're dealing with. I don't think we can map it out. There isn't a universal eye position for every subject matter, but the eye positioning to a specific subject matter will hold pretty true as we deal with that theme or that category of trauma with that experience. So the big difference in bilateral is that we're adding the fixed eye position. The third thing I want to discuss is targets. It's a fancy way of talking about the subject at hand, whereas EMDR is highly specific and the setup process can actually take a while. Targets in brain spotting, like I've mentioned before, can be a little bit more organic, a little bit more free flow, just because the application process is a little bit different, and that works out okay. So again, I think that that's nice. One of the things I like to tell people is that there are periods of silence in this. With brain spotting, the periods of silence are often dictated more by you. I have some people who talk almost continually the whole time, and as long as we are accessing those deep brain levels, which I can watch out for, then I am okay with that. I have other clients who are quiet for 10, 15 minutes at a time, and because I know them well, I know that where they're going is where they need to go, and everything in between. So what is typical with newer clients is there's this rhythm to letting them have periods of silence and checking back in, adjusting where they're going to make sure it's productive, going back to periods of silence and checking back in. What's nice is that brain spotting, you're often dictating the pace of that. Whereas with EMDR, because of the nature of using tappers or whatnot, I'm often guessing and trying to dictate the pacing of that. So that's also a major difference along with the fixed eye position. Much like any other neurologically informed technique, what you can expect after is to feel tired, to feel emotionally raw, to feel relieved, to feel happy, to feel even sometimes euphoric, to feel heavy. All of this is just by virtue of whatever content we're processing and how far we were able to get to it within the therapy hour. Hopefully, the end goal is that you get to a place of feeling really relieved and light and good. It isn't always a guarantee that that happens within 1 hour. Unfortunately, sometimes the brain has its own timetable. But what else you can expect would be things like new insights, things that you haven't thought about in a long time, shifting in the way that you look at something, the perspective, having sort of positives bubble up to the surface if there are any that apply where we're talking about. And again, back to why I find these techniques so compelling and why I am so passionate about using them when appropriate with clients is because of the fact that by including the brain in our healing process, and more importantly, including the midbrain and the brainstem in the healing process, which is where really it's the seat of our emotion and our somatic experiences, people are able to create shifts around these things, sometimes in as little as one session, whereas they may have talked about it at length and not created any shift. So I think it's a very powerful combination along with insight and along with the therapeutic connection. When you put them all together, I find it's a beautiful synergy. I hope this has been helpful for you. As always, if it has, please like, comment, or share. I always appreciate that. And until next time, thanks for watching.